All right. So front-end engineering. So what you are learning here, you're going to become an engineer. So you don't have to go and register in any society of engineers or anything, but you're going to become an, because you're going to begin to think like an engineer, and you're going to build real systems that people will use. Okay, you're going to build real systems that people are going to use, and that makes you an engineer. So an engineer is not somebody that went to university for 4 years, or 5 years. It's somebody that actually builds something, that actually does something. And what we're doing here, we're learning how to do something that people can really use in real life. So, and then we're going to learn those engineering things, those way of thinking that will help you to actually build stuff, software in this case. Okay. So front-end engineering. So what is this front-end about? Okay, so front end basically, when you open an app, those things you see, the buttons you press, the colors you see on the app, what you see as an app is actually front end, but there's a whole lot of things that are in the back end, okay, of any application. When you open an app, you open maybe whatever app, Facebook, WhatsApp, okay, Instagram, what you see is the front end, okay, the part that you are able to interact with, okay. That can be likened to, to be able to do that, you need to learn a couple of skills, and these are some of the skills you're going to learn to be able to build things like this, okay? Now, if you look at it, diagram at the bottom, there's something there, which is front end versus back end, okay? So you can see the front end part is like, it looks very nice. That's what you see as an app, generally. That's generally what you see in an app, okay? So that is the front end, right? Now, this can be likened to when you go to a restaurant, right? You go to a restaurant and, okay, maybe let me go to the back end first before I come back to this, okay? So for the back end engineering, which is another aspect of software development, okay? So there are some people who specialize in the front end aspect of it, while others specialize in the back end. And then there are also people who specialize in both of them, which is both front end and back end, okay? And those people are usually called full stack developers, okay? One of my mentees, who is now a full stack developer, people are going to meet him at some point as well. Okay, so now back end, you can see the diagram has changed a bit. So if we go back to the front end, you see the top diagram, it looks very nice, looks like something you're used to. But when it comes to this one, it's now as if you're now behind the laptop or behind the computer or behind.
Hello, please, can you zoom it so that we can see it on the big screen? It's to the corner, the picture that you're talking about.
Is it to the corner?
Yeah, I'm seeing it at the corner.
I think you need to adjust your setting. It's okay. It's from your own end. Just adjust.
Okay. I was seeing it before. Then okay. Thank you. I'll do that. All right.
So is anyone having the same issue?
No, he's showing well from here.
Okay, that's fantastic. All right, so
it's better now.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so you can see this is the back end. If you look at the back end, the top picture image, now see that there are things happening behind the scene. And this is, you can see the desktop, and then behind it, desktop, there's things happening. Okay, and that's what we have in real life now. But if you're not in IT, if you're not into programming, you don't really know the work that goes on in the back end. For instance, when you open your WhatsApp message and send a text message, okay, without the back end, the other person, the other person will not be able to, the other party will not be able to receive your message. Okay, so this back end can be, and the front end can be likened to when you go to a restaurant, right? When you arrive at a restaurant, you're going to see tables in the restaurant, you're going to see chairs, and you're going to see a waiter or a waitress. Now, this waiter or waitress will come to you and then ask you for your order, and then you place your order. Now, it depends on the restaurant, maybe about 15 minutes later, the waiter or the waitress is going to come with your meal, okay? Now, the meal, where does it come from? So there are people in the background making that possible. The people that make the meal, you don't see them, but that doesn't mean that they're not important. Imagine that the people that make the meal are not in the restaurant, are not available. It means that the restaurant is going to be useless, okay? People are not going to go there because they will not be able to make place orders, they will not be able to buy food and eat, okay? That's the same thing with web development. If you don't have the back end, any message you send with your phone is going to remain in your phone. Okay, the front end, what the front end does, I just provide an interface for you to interact with your laptop or interact with your app Okay, but the actual work, like when you log in or when you sign up, the back end people are the people that take care of that. Okay, when you log in, when you sign up, when you send a message on WhatsApp, for instance, when you send a message on WhatsApp, the message first of all goes to the back end, and then from the back end, which is the server, it's then sent to the person. It doesn't go directly from the person from your phone, which most of you may think that the phone go that if the message you send on WhatsApp goes from your phone directly to the other person's phone. It doesn't go like that. It goes to the server, and then from the server, it is sent. We're going to learn all these terminologies. So we're going to learn what it means. From the server, it's then sent to the other person. And then when you don't have internet, when you don't have data, what happens is that when you send your message, the server cannot connect to your phone. So that is why the other person, so you cannot receive the message to send to the other person. All right. So that's what happens when you don't have data. Okay, so this is back end. Like I said, back end, front end. And there's also another part which is called DevOps. So we're not looking at that for now. So the third part we're going to be looking at from this diagram, okay, we also mentioned this AI and data science, okay? So for those that are interested, okay, we're going to also dive deep into, because that is also my area. In fact, now that is one of my major areas now. We're going to really dive deep into learning some of those things that, you know, yeah. So here I put a very big diagram that covers, you know, because I'm just trying to really stress the fact that data is in new oil, okay? Because a lot of people, especially for most people, most of you here, you know, don't really know the usefulness of data, okay? They don't know the importance of data these days, okay? It's actually much more important than crude oil these days. Okay, and so if you are still thinking of, you know, somebody asked me today that is looking for a course in reservoir engineering, you know, I was wondering, is this person living in the past? You know, you may argue, you know, you may argue that, oh, there are things happening, but I can bet you, if you are thinking in that aspect, you want to go and study chemical, petrochem, and all of those things, you are preparing for the past and no longer. So if you are preparing for the future, you need to understand the reality of things. You know, how do they compare crude and the oil and data? You know, in the past, okay, even up to now, right? So the crude is used to generate electricity, and electricity is used everywhere. So data can be likened to crude, while artificial intelligence can be likened to electricity that is being used by everybody everywhere. And it's going to happen very soon. Okay, so that's why we have to really be ahead of things. And you have to really be ahead of the game if you really want to take advantage of what is happening, and if you really want to know what is happening. Okay, so if you want to prepare for the future, if you don't want to be taken unaware to the point that your skills becomes useless. And some skills where some people are learning today, in the next 10 years, AI is going to take over those skills. So as we go on, you know, this program, we're going to also learn you the useful skill to learn that there are certain skills that AI will never take over, because you know, AI is also, there are certain skills that AI will not, you know, affect, at least for the next 50 years or so. Okay, so we're going to learn about those skills as well. All right, so that we know that. Okay, so for those that are interested, like I said, okay, we're going to be looking at also but it's not going to be, you know, artificial intelligence is full of mathematics, a lot of maths. But like I said, I mentioned here, I call it hands-on artificial intelligence. All right. So this hands-on artificial intelligence, so it just basically, we're not going to go deep into the mathematical aspect of it, although you have to stay knowing the maths behind the algorithms. It's going to really help you, going to really push you forward. But we're not going to dive deep into that. We're just going straight into the practical application, how it is being practiced currently in the industry. Okay, so we're not doing academic. It's not an academic. We're not going to. It's not that we're not following an academic curriculum here. So we're more going to the practical aspect of it. So we're going to be looking at how you're going to practice. I've written some things down here like scikit-learn. Of course, most of you will not know what it means. TensorFlow, PyTorch, machine learning, NLP. Yeah. So there are already algorithms that have been built on top of this thing that people are using. So we'll just go straight. But for us to be anyone to be able to do this, we need to have very good knowledge of programming. Yeah, because we're going to use programming to make that possible. We're going to use programming Python. Okay. So yeah, so those are the directions. So like I mentioned, yeah, so this is what we had. Yeah. So Prince is not here, but some of you see him later. And yeah, so for most of you that don't really know me, I've been a software developer for about 4 to 5 years now. So I've been in the industry. And yeah, and anybody can actually be in the industry. Okay. Yeah, so anybody can go and be in the industry. It's not restricted to anyone, right? So I've seen people who are so you don't even have to have been a science student in your secondary school days. No, all those things don't really matter. What matters is your dedication that you want to, your desire, the intensity with which you chase it. Okay, like there are not many things that can give you, can change your life in 12 months. Okay, there are not many things you can do that can change, but these are the things that we have seen practically, we have done practically, we have tested, and see that you can actually, move from whatever level you are to a very different level in 12 months of consistency, tenacity, dedication. Okay. And okay, so there's something I like to put at the end of my slide. Okay, so you can see a goal. I mean, maybe just to motivate some of you guys. Okay, because if you're a software developer these days, you have the skill. You're not going to earn anything less than $1,000 per month. In fact, the $1,000 is actually like what they call, for those that like math, like the infimum, like the minimum, is on the more like the floor, right? The like around the minimum amount of money you're going to be like every year. So that's why this skill is very, very useful. Okay, very, very. I've seen people who resign from, for those that are still thinking like, I've seen people who resign from oil and gas that everybody wants to go in the 90s, to actually become software developers. And then they still go back to oil and gas. The thing is that it's better you are a software developer in an oil and gas industry than just somebody who deals with the petroleum and all of that, because you are way more rated. And you have software developers everywhere, all over the place, in banks. I'm sure you must have sometimes complained about your back app not working. And these people, most of the time, I think the best part of it for me really is the flexibility. Okay, for the past 3 years, personally, I've never had to rush to anywhere, so I'm going to work. Like I've never had to rush in the morning, wake up in the morning, I need to, and then wear my suit or wear whatever and say I want to go out somewhere. All right, so I wake up anytime I want, work anytime I want. Apart from when we have meetings, okay, and I don't have to dress up to rush to anywhere. So that is a flex, that kind of flexibility. It's almost like you are basically in charge of your life, basically, technically. Okay, so it's a fantastic opportunity, I think, that we all have now. So to dive into this. Yeah. So any questions so far? Because now I just want to introduce the two paths of the programming aspect, the web development aspect, as well as the AI. Okay, so that's the next thing I want to do. So do you have any questions so far? Are you guys still here?
Sure, I'm here.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so yeah, I'm going to show another slide. So basically, this is just the AI, there's the web development aspect. Like I said, and you don't have to do the two, because it takes for you to see even somebody that is back-end developer and front-end developer at the same time. It takes a lot of work. For some of us to have come to this, but we went through a lot of challenges. And it was quite an interesting journey for us to get to the point where we can do both of them. So for instance, I'm a full stack developer. I do both back end and front end. And now diving deep into AI as well. So it's more like very full stack web software developer as well, an AI engineer. Okay, but we're going to see, we're going to see how these things can be achieved, So we've gone through the part where we learn by ourselves and we know what we went through without much mentorship. Yeah, so because learning a skill, it requires a lot of mentorship. And if you have somebody that's already in the industry showing the way, you can achieve things faster. Okay, so I want to just just basically show you a drop, just quickly run through what the web development entails. Then when we come next time, So now, when I mean web programming, so what I mean basically being able to develop the apps that, for instance, this app we're using, for those of you that are using laptop, okay, so if you can view WhatsApp on your browser, there are 3 ways to install your to use WhatsApp, right? You can use on your phone, your browser, and it's a desktop app, right? Now, when I mean web program, I'm talking about the one that works in the browser. So like when you use your laptop, take your laptop and open a web, open Facebook on the web page, or maybe online banking with your laptop, or maybe your school apps within your laptop. Those are web programming, okay? Those are web programming. But we're going to also mention how to develop mobile apps in the process, but we're going to focus mainly on web programming. Yeah, because that's the foundation of everything, really. So because if you're able to do web programming, you can always learn mobile programming. It's straightforward. Okay. So for web programming, the first one we're going to be looking at, what we call some technologies which were mentioned in the previous slides. It's called HTML and CSS. So the HTML and CSS the HTML is basically used to describe the content of a web page. So when you open a web page, sometimes you open a web page, you're going to see that some text are just like what you have in newspapers, right? You have these big headings, large headings, right? You have paragraphs and all of that. So you have all those things in web page as well. Okay, so we use HTML, what we call HTML, to describe that. We're going to learn what it means. And also, there are certain things you also use, like you can see even on this slide, you can see the color, you can see the blue color, you can see the background color, navy blue kind of color. So those colors are described using what we call CSS. And these are just the things you need to. So if you know HTML and CSS, you can actually build a web page. Okay, you can actually build a web page, but it may not look like Facebook anyway. It may not look very good, but you can actually build. That's what is used to build web pages. Okay. Then we're also going to learn what we call Git. Some people call it Git. I call it Git most of the time, but some people call it Git as well. So basically a version control system. We're going to learn how to use it. We're going to learn how to use the Git. Basically how it works is that, let's say you want to write a letter or you want to write an essay. So you have this version of your essay written, and then you work on it again, and then you save that version as version 1, and then you open another page and try to write version 2 of it, or maybe save like version 3. Yeah, I'm sure you must have saved some document that both version 1, 2, 3, different files. Okay. Now the Git allows you to be able to save any part, not just in one file, to save different version of your code in just a single file. So you don't have to like say version 1, version 2, version 3. All right, maybe like in Microsoft where you have version 1, version 2 of your documents, or maybe a letter you've written, you're trying to, or maybe your CV. Okay, what the Git allows is that you just have one page. Anytime you want the version 1 of that, with the content of your code, everything will disappear, and then that version 1 will show. Anytime one version 2, everything will be removed, and then the version 2 will show. Okay, so it's not like version 1 is attached to version 2. So anytime you see the page, you're going to be just one version. So we're going to learn how to use Git because it's very, very important. I'm going to learn a programming language called Python. Programming language, which is one of the most popular programming languages these days. Okay, so Python was Instagram is built with Python. So most of you might have gone through Instagram today, but it's actually built with Python in the backend. Okay, so we're going to learn some of those technologies. Netflix, okay, most of you watch Netflix as well. So in the backend, you have Python. Uber, the phone app, the taxi app that most of you have used as well, is built. Pinterest, okay, is built with Python. So there's so many websites, but NASA, the National Space Agency, they use Python. So Python is widely used. Okay, so we're going to learn that. And then this is the #1 programming language for artificial intelligence. So if you have this skill of Python, the scale is your starting point. Okay. So so the Python, right? Like I mentioned, front end and back end previously, right? So this is a technology. Python is used for the back end of things, right? It's used in the back end. And there's a framework that is built on top of Python called Django, which we're going to be using, to build web application, back end web applications, okay? To build